Windsor, with its slate-grey battlements and its centuries of royal ritual, has always looked like a place that time cannot touch. Yet this summer, as the lawns around the Long Walk crisp under an early heatwave and the Thames drifts lazily past the castle's foundations, the estate is grappling with a far less visible threat. The oak processionary moth, a stowaway that first appeared in southwest London in the mid-2000s, has moved inexorably west, and the nerve centre of its newest colony now sits worryingly close to Adelaide Cottage, the family home of the Prince and Princess of Wales. For William and Catherine, who chose Windsor precisely because it offered their children the freedom of wild woodland and quiet lanes, the discovery has turned a cherished refuge into a field of hidden tripwires. Most summer mornings in previous years began the same way for the family. While Kensington Palace staff were still commuting through traffic, George would wheel his bicycle out through the cottage gate, Charlotte would chase after him with a skipping rope knotted around her waist, and Louis would insist on bringing sticks back for Orla, their cocker spaniel. William often jogged alongside them, nodding to dog walkers on the Queen's Ride, then ducking under the arch of the Copper Horse Avenue before cutting home for a video call or an engagement in town. Those patrols, friends say, were as close to anonymity as the couple can reasonably expect. No motorbike escorts, no lenses poking through hedges, only the soft hush of leaf litter underfoot and the whistle of parakeets flitting above the oaks. But by early May, rangers from the Crown Estate had already taped bright orange hazard bands around half a dozen trunks bordering those very tracks. Residents received a discreet email first. Later, laminated signs appeared beside each gate, bearing an uncompromising warning: oak processionary caterpillars active, keep dogs on leads and avoid touching trees. The larvae themselves are not much to look at. A drab streak of charcoal grey dotted with white bristles, but each body bristles with tens of thousands of hairs barbed like harpoons. At this stage of the life cycle, the creatures feed in vast caravans, moving nose to tail up trunks and across branches, stripping fresh leaf growth as they go. When alarmed, they release invisible clouds of those hairs. Carried by the subtlest breeze, they can settle on nearby picnickers or swirl onto a dog's muzzle. Doctors at the local surgery in that chet have now treated at least 9 children with welts resembling chemical burns. One was kept overnight in hospital after the itching triggered an asthma attack. A palace medic briefed William in June, explaining that even gloves and long sleeves offer limited protection. Hairs trapped in clothing continue to leach their irritant toxin for weeks. The sheer scale of Windsor Great Park complicates any attempted countermeasure. Spraying every oak would require licenses, satellite mapping, temporary path closures, and multiple iterations of a bacterial insecticide that can kill beneficial moths as well as the invader. The Forestry Commission therefore focuses on the most densely used sectors: the playground near the Savile Garden, the polo pitches, the riding school's cross-country routes. Contractors arrive before dawn, dressed in disposable full-body overalls with respirators beneath their helmets. They scale the trunks, cut the silken nests into sealed sacks, and hoover loose hairs with industrial vacuums fitted with HEPA filters. It is, a supervisor confides, a losing battle fought tree by tree. Ecologists call the oak processionary moth a textbook example of globalization's side effects. British nurseries imported thousands of young saplings from the Netherlands during a post-millennial landscaping boom. Some batches arrived with egg plaques, no bigger than thumbprints, glued to their bark. For a while, isolated outbreaks were logged and neutralized. Then a warm spring allowed multiple generations to overlap. When London's plane trees sent plumes of seed fluff swirling through the streets, millions of microscopic caterpillar hairs floated with them, catching the thermals above rooftops, creeping along railway embankments and motorways. By the time the pest reached Richmond Park, it had cost the government more than £4 million in containment. Windsor sits just 23 miles further west. The leap was inevitable. Inside Adelaide Cottage, the royal couple have responded with military efficiency. Play dates for the children are now staged on the sheltered south lawn, where a brick parapet breaks the wind that might carry stray hairs. 2 new air purifier units hum quietly in the boot room, filtering pollen and particles on days when the oak belts are downwind. The nanny keeps a small pump spray of diluted vinegar, an old forester's remedy, beside the back door to neutralize hairs caught on bare legs. William's protection officers have been issued with tweezers and saline eye wash, alongside the standard defibrillator and trauma pack. Meanwhile, Catherine, who still times public duties carefully to conserve her energy, has asked park officials for weekly updates, so she can plan safe walking routes. Friends say she is determined the children will not grow up in a bubble of tarmac and screens, and remains stubbornly optimistic that the infestation will plateau. Whether that optimism is justified depends on climate as much as human intervention. The moth cannot complete its life cycle below a sustained 9 degrees Celsius, yet southern Britain's winters now hover stubbornly above that threshold. A heat map published by the Royal Horticultural Society shows Windsor already seeded with smaller satellite colonies radiating into Berkshire and Oxfordshire. The Society warns that eradication is unrealistic. The best hope is long-term biological control, encouraging native predators, such as the parasitic wasp Carcelia iliaca, to build local populations. Experiments are underway in Kew Gardens, but results will take several breeding seasons. In the short term, the invasion is forcing a discreet recalibration of royal summer plans. 5 years ago, the Wales children could often be spotted lining up pine cones for impromptu cricket on Smith's lawn. This July, the family is more likely to decamp to Balmoral earlier than usual, embracing the Highlands' midge-rich, but caterpillar-free air. When the King hosts the Braemar gathering in September, George is expected to join the hill race for the first time, a rite of passage accelerated in part because the oak belts of Windsor have become less congenial terrain. For local residents, the situation is less easily avoided, yet many draw comfort from a sense of shared vigilance. Garden clubs circulate updated Forestry Commission mapping, allotments swap tips on netting fruit trees, and vets post daily risk bulletins on social media. Windsor's Parish Council has even trialled adhesive bands smeared with a natural resin around saplings in the town centre. Early data suggests the method traps thousands of ascending caterpillars each dusk. In truth, most experts predict the moth will settle into the landscape much as Dutch elm disease and ash dieback have done, another chronic ailment woven into the ecology of southern England. The challenge is to blunt its worst effects until natural balances re-establish themselves. For the Prince and Princess of Wales, that means teaching their children not just how to recognize the insect's sinuous grey lines, but also how to shape their own habits in response. To stay on gravel paths in high summer, to brush down picnic blankets before packing them away, to wash hands before lunch. It is an education in resilience as much as in biology. There is a certain irony in the spectacle of a monarch's offspring dodging a creature barely the size of a matchstick on land once planted to supply timber for ships of the line. Yet the episode reinforces a timeless truth embedded in the park's oldest oaks, that nature, however regal the setting, is never static. Winds shift, pests travel, and the responsibilities of stewardship evolve with each generation. This summer's caterpillar crisis may not linger in the national memory, but for a princely family intent on balancing privilege with ordinariness, it has become an unexpected lesson in living respectfully and cautiously among the trees that their ancestors once planted in the confident expectation of permanence.